It's time finally for a 50-hour review on the X758. So this is a 2021 X758. If you have not watched the introduction videos to this machine, I introduced it. I've done some mowing videos with it, and then I did a 20-hour review, and now it's got 45.7 hours on it. However, we're getting a little late in the season, and so I'm actually going to go ahead and do a 50-hour review. That way I can go ahead, change the oil, change the hydraulic fluid, and install the through axle shaft on the front of the machine. So recently decided I was going to do all that because we haven't gotten any rain, and it was just a good time to clean the machine and everything. So did all that, and now we're going to work on those maintenance projects or maintenance, and then also installation of accessories, things along those lines. So I figured this was as good a time as any to do it. We're close enough to it. So purchased this machine actually brought it home on May 1st of 2021. I've done a number of videos on cost, stuff like that. And since then I put 50 hours on it. I fully intended to put 100 to 115 hours on it this year, between May and about probably October 1st. However, being in a drought this year, we have put 45 hours on it. Approximately, I would say 38 to 40 of those hours are mowing. So we do have some hours of it running the sprayer, towing the sprayer around, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's been all mowing. And I want to kind of give my impression of the machine overall. My overall impression, love it. Absolutely love it. In terms of replacing the X758 with the 7-iron deck as a mower, if you can tell, I haven't had the 7-iron deck on the X748 in so long that it is now covered in a pile of dust. So I don't intend to put it on the rest of this year. So I think for right now, the 7-iron deck that was on the X748 is retired. The 60 HC deck, the 60 high capacity deck, I have absolutely zero complaints, and I'll get into that once I've gone over the machine a little bit. So being an X758, it is diesel, 24 horsepower, and it is 4-wheel drive. It is hydraulically driven front axle. That is one of the reasons one of the things you will have to do when we do the 50-hour hydraulic fluid change in the transaxle. We will also have to drain the front axle because both front wheels are hydraulically driven from flow from the transaxle. It is not mechanical like the X748 because my X748 is 2007. So, detailed review for after 50 hours. My wife loves it. Me, I love it, but I like the seat on the X748 better. I am not a big a fan of this seat as I am of the X748. It's like, dude, you're picking on a seat of all things. Honestly, a seat is what makes a machine in some degree, because that is where you sit, and if you're not comfortable when you're operating it, it's just not a good situation. I mean, now that's not to say that I'm not comfortable, because I am actually very comfortable in this machine, but the X748 with the SE seat, which you see out there, is slightly more comfortable. Now, I've talked to a couple people, and obviously the Air Ride seat is available for this, but as I said on the outset, this is a mower for my wife, and she really likes the seat. She prefers the seat on this machine versus the X748. So, I mean, take that as just my first comment. That's pretty much the biggest thing that I have that I don't really love about the machine. As a mower, it's fantastic handling-wise, sound-wise, just overall feel of the machine. It feels really good when you're driving it. I have absolutely zero complaints, and it will mow pretty much anything that I have asked it to mow. I am actually very sad that I was not able to put, or I have not been able to put, more hours on this machine mowing, because I think it is an absolutely fantastic mower. It's mowed our ditch, which has a 25, it's basically the ditch is at a 25-degree angle. You can mow across the side and feel perfectly fine, and there are not even any wheel weights on this machine. Engine-wise, plenty of power, absolutely zero complaints power-wise. You know, so I have no true complaints about the machine. Just really none other than the seat. A couple things that I have observed since I got it. When I first got it, I made a comment in one of the videos that I was having to use the RIO over here. That's because there was something stuck in this one and it wouldn't come up all the way. Solved that problem the first couple hours of using the machine. Don't have that problem anymore. Yes, the reverse implement operation is still active on this machine, and I have no intentions of turning it off. It is something that I've just learned to live with. It's not that big a deal to me. And even if the deck does go off, it's not a huge deal to turn it back on. It's just not something that I'm too concerned about. A couple of concerns I do have looking forward into the future. I am concerned about the digital dash because when I washed it the other day, I've obviously tried to keep as much off of this dash as I could, but there was a little bit of humidity in there. So I think if you're storing this in a more outdoor environment, I would be very concerned about it. Maintenance-wise, like ease of maintenance, it's fantastic. Just between this, I can pull the radiator screen out, super easy. When you're mowing in the spring, we have a lot of cottonwoods. I picked up a lot of cottonwoods, the tufts or the seeds, and I actually had enough on the screen and these on the outside screens here that the engine did get a little warm. I think we were up to 4 or 5 bars on the thermometer or the heat gauge, whatever you want, temperature gauge on the engine. But, overall got those scraped off and it just came right back down. Another thing that I want to mention, one thing that it does not do, it does not have grease zerks on the steering cylinder. There are grease zerks on the tie rod. The tie rod, much like I have discussed in past videos dealing with the X series, it is a fixed tie rod. So being a fixed tie rod, that means that it is not a serviceable component. You can't replace the tie rod in. So once the tie rod wears out, you just got to buy a new one, and they are not cheap. I think $350+ last time I looked. But as I said, this not being the hydraulic steering cylinder not being serviceable, and the tie rod being one unit, that's always kind of irked me in terms of some of the design changes with these machines. I'd really like to see serviceable components with grease zerks and stuff, but at the same time, I'm probably not your average end user. I probably spend a lot of time greasing machines that most owners do not, which I'm not necessarily saying that they're doing anything bad. Actually, as I was sitting here talking, I did have one thing happen, and I actually need to fix this tonight. The other day while I was washing it, I found this bolt on this flange nut on the ground, and there's actually a flange nut that holds the footrest on. So I don't know if that was just something that was missed from the factory or what. But that is something that I did notice the other day. Took a lot of comments from folks saying I was being nitpicky about the wheels. I am not a huge fan of the alloy wheels. Some people love them. Not necessarily my cup of tea. When I washed it the other day, they were a pain to clean. I much prefer the solid, just yellow steel wheels. That's kind of what I prefer. I think those are easier to clean. I actually had to get in there with a wash rag and stuff to get these wheels clean after 45 hours of use and driving around in pretty wet grass. So I'm actually going to have probably part of this video, I'm going to attach me washing it, so it'll be at the end of this video, so you can see some of that. I just decided to do this 50-hour review first. Deck-wise, I think that's about all the comments I have on the machine. Deck-wise, I have no complaints about the deck other than I really wish the front casters were turnable. I had a little bit of an issue getting the caster height correct when I'm mowing on a slope, but that was kind of just user error there. And basically, that's just kind of my fault. I had the gauge wheels up a little too high, and I ended up with a little bit of tilt on the side of the deck as I was going sideways down a slope. I lowered the deck gauge wheels. It's a little bit lower than I would probably prefer to have them, but certainly ended up getting rid of that problem. One of the things that if you go back to my initial videos, I said that I was not a fan of these plastic drive-over covers. I'm going to reverse my opinion. I'm going to say I love these plastic drive-over covers. I thought I was going to hate them because they look cheap, stuff like that, but they also make this deck very, very serviceable compared to the 7-iron over here with those metal ramps over it. Those metal ramps only come off once a year, and they're a pain. You got to get a wrench out. You got to take them off. Meanwhile, this one, every time I'm done mowing, lift it up and take them off, and you blow it out. Really, really nice. I actually think that that is a fantastic feature for this deck, and I really, really like it. Cut-wise, you know, aside from the scalping issues, zero issues with the quality of cut. We did that comparison video a few weeks ago, probably almost a month ago now, where I compared the 455 of 400 in this deck right here. No complaints on this deck, and it was probably the fastest deck, and also has the highest capacity compared to the other two decks. Unfortunately, I have not been able to mow really deep grass with this thing because we haven't had the rain to grow the grass, or to grow the grass that tall, really. In fact, for those of you that watch my channel frequently, I think I have put 25 hours on the 1445 this summer. Normally, I put 120 to 140 hours on that machine during the summer to tell you how dry it has been here in terms of mowing. So overall, my 50-hour impression of the X758, I have no true complaints. I have nothing that would cause me to rethink my decision to buy it. There have been a couple things that have changed since I purchased it that I'm not necessarily particularly happy with. One of those being the 3-point. When I purchased this machine, the 3-point was $650. The 3-point is now, after tax, probably close to $900. So I'm not, and they also changed the part number, which I don't know if they changed any true parts, but they changed the part number. It was a BW, and now it's a BUC part number. So I'm not particularly happy about that, but I still would buy the machine overall. I think that increase in the 3-point price makes it, if you go back and look at my video where I compared the 1025R to the X758 in price and functionality, you probably need to go back and watch that video, but I think that almost, still, I think the X758, if you're going to do primarily mowing, you probably should go with it. But, that increased cost in 3-point makes that spread a little bit less in between those two machines. But other than that, I have no real complaints. Some people might complain about, plastic this, plastic that. My wife has said nothing. She's probably mowed with it for 25 hours or so. She's had no issues with it. She says she likes it. She thinks it's very, very comfortable. In fact, more comfortable than the X748. She likes the deck. In fact, there's been a couple times where she's come home, and normally we kind of mow as a team, and she's actually started mowing before I get home, and she really likes it. So I would say if you're thinking about X758, my impression so far and my first approximately 50 hours or 45 hours of use, I have zero real complaints, and I would buy it again based on my experience thus far. Now, what I'll do is I'll get through the winter. I don't know if I'll move any snow with it this coming winter. I may try, but we'll see how that pans out. And if I move snow with it, I'll give you my feedback, because obviously I don't have any weights on it. So we'll have to see how that works out. So if you got questions, comments, leave them below. Happy to answer them. Look in the coming up, boy, I tell you, it's late. Look in the coming weeks. I will be doing the install of the front through shaft, an oil change, and then also the transaxle oil change. Thanks for watching. Up first, we got to drop the deck off. So what we're going to do, I've already got the deck up, so I'm going to go ahead. Well, I thought I had the deck up. Obviously not. Oh, it's just hard to turn. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to let the gauge wheels fall. That way the deck can settle on the ground. And we're going to let the deck all the way down to the ground. Now, what we can do is we can let the front draft arm go. It should fall out. And then We need to let the drive shaft go. Let's see if I can make you under here. So, I probably should just shut it off to begin with. One of the things that I realized after the first time that I did this, if you remember that struggle bus in the video, the drive shaft actually needs to go over and sit on a bracket over on the far side. And at the same time, these need to be pushed down. So, let's go over to the other side. And hopefully you can see. We're gonna reach in here, pick the drive shaft up. The drive shaft's gonna go in there like that. I think that's how it sits in there. So now, let's put you back on the tripod here, and we'll see if I can successfully get this deck off in one shot. So, who knows? "45 hours of use, pretty much all mowing. A little bit of crap, but not too terribly bad. So I think blades look pretty good still. I know I've only hit a couple of rocks with them. There's a little ding right there. I'll work on that this winter. I don't see a reason to do it right now. But let me go get a scraper and I'll scrape all of the crap off of there. And then wash the deck and go from there. All clean. Both the deck and the tractor are clean. Now obviously, you know, I'm going to pressure wash it here in about a month and a half, so I decided not to get the pressure washer out. So it's not going to come, the deck's not perfectly clean. I mean, there is still some crap underneath there, but you know, it's better than it was. I just got some car soap out and washed the X758 itself, rinsed down the engine, you know, stuff like that. No big secret there. Like I said, I didn't pressure wash it, so I did dry it off mostly just because of water spots. So yeah, up next I think we need to change the oil, so we will work on that probably tomorrow. I'm gonna let this thing dry and everything, and then we'll get it out in the shed, and we'll change the oil. So that's next.